Greetings, this is Marv Gardens reporting in for this Wednesday day. How you doing? And today we will be talking about contemporary discussions. And this may sound similar to what was spoken about yesterday because in our historical discussion, I I mostly highlighted current and recent history, and I basically run into its significance. But I mean, at some point, you have to appreciate the present for what it is, and that's what today's talk is going to be about. Simply taking that first person view of life and history and blending them together into something that is hopefully entertaining. So without further ado, let us begin. What does it mean to be a 21st century citizen, person, item? I say the first thing that comes to mind is an unfamiliarity with the world, and in that light, what I'm trying to say is that what it means to truly be a contemporary is to be in touch with what's going on around you. But I feel like a typical symptom of the 21st century is a sort of amnesia and or forgetfulness that has adopted the 21st century person, because the world has changed so rapidly, so quickly, so tumultuously, that there is no normal anymore. There is no predefined state in which a person could say this one thing speaks everything for the 21st century. And I feel like that is I guess the distinctness of this century that has put it in its own category from any other point in time. Because if you look at history has always been predictable in terms of what was moving it, what was going on, and who was important. In this 21st century time capsule we got going on here, there is no defining moments yet, maybe yet. There are no defining people. There are no definite marks yet made, because the 21st century is one of those unknown periods in which people, can't say for sure that this is going to happen, or can't say for sure that something won't happen. And that's both a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it shows that history has not been for nothing. If things kept going back in their typical loops, then people wouldn't even really bother with identifying whether they are a remarkable event. And what that means is most people should feel a gratefulness for the period they were born in. I say most people because you always have that percentile of people who just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I feel like that's what most captures that quote, the idea that certain people weren't meant to be born in certain times, and their life experiences are a testament to this. But enough of that. More on to 21st century precedents. or not precedence, significance, no, more on to 21st century, I am at a loss of the word here. What does it mean to be 21st century? And that is, I guess, that's the only historical repetition that will occur, is that people will always have different opinions on what they feel like makes their existence in this specific piece of human history for them, like distinct for them. Or an identify for them, not distinct, and identify for them. And for me, I feel like unfamiliarity is one. I guess boredom is another one. And I say boredom in the sense that, you know, the world isn't what it used to be. The world isn't like a domino effect of some unfortunate events that may or may not happen. It's the things have definitely taken a turn for the simple. Let's say if history was a graph, then right now we are definitely moving at a constant pace. There is nothing steep or declining right now, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, boredom, which is going to be associated with the rudimentary and you know, the same old. But another thing that has I guess stood out from the 21st century is a uh, a definite feeling of um the past affecting the future. Like most people say that that time, like history repeats itself, and I definitely feel that quote stands out as well. I definitely feel like the past is definitely being relied on to decide events for the future, which, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But in this age of innovation and simple freedom, um I feel like past habits shouldn't be so relevant to the time, but they still are. Then again, I feel like past habits have definitely allowed for innovation and stuff, because trying to reinvent the wheel is never a practical practical method. You should never try to make something wrong when it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. And the reason I say this is not because this is like some unspoken wisdom. This is more of a simple lot. I guess that's another distinction in the 21st century. A what do you call it? Expedited salute, like expedited like an expedited problem solving attitude, which has um basically swamped the 21st century. People always are coming up with new things and different things to quickly and easily remedy problems versus, you know, I guess focusing more on not looking like the next person, which, that's, I guess, given the 21st century, that's not true, but it's also true because you're gonna always have those people that's gonna follow behind other people so that they can win. But I mean, that has further pushed other people to think outside the box, so to say. So I guess to avoid the language jargon I'm throwing out here, people are basically more pushed to think outside the box in an era where past habits are too tempting to overdo, overuse, and basically follow. So I guess in terms of leadership versus a follower attitude, you can say that there's ultimately a leadership attitude in the 21st century. I can't say that people are depending on the older minds to decide for them how to do stuff in terms of making a living for themselves. So I give you that. You could argue. I mean, it depends on what setting. Depends on who are we talking about? What age group are we talking about here? If we talking about anybody less than 18, then you can't really say that they're following. That's kind of their job. But I mean, 18 and older, I mean, kids are definitely making the effort to not be a what they, as they would say, a bandwagon. So we'll leave that at that. What else does it mean to be a 21st century citizen? I would say that foreign relations are definitely not what they used to be, or as they were dictated to be in the history books. Foreign relations were definitely projected to be very serious, very obligatory, very situational. Just all of these like war games basically, and that has definitely digressed and regressed into a much more concerted identity, whereas we're not talking about separate peoples doing separate things. We're more foreign relations has definitely moved towards a much more involved process in the form of sheer diversity. Not even speaking on the United Nations, because to be honest, the United Nations is irrelevant if on the people level people do not mimic what larger nations are doing anyway. So there's that, which is probably the best thing. That's probably the best thing. That does mean that the chances of a war just breaking out of nowhere is probably next to none, to be honest with you, because that would mean somebody didn't know something, and that just wouldn't work out. So, to be honest with you, it's kind of difficult to distinguish. I guess as a 21st century person, I can say that being a 21st century person is definitely an unknown frontier, because the challenges that my parents or parents faced, or even older than that, were like leagues apart. Like, my challenges feel like Gerber baby food compared to what it means to be an early city folk. Like, I feel like a late city folk. Like, all of the good stuff in the city is already here, in my opinion, versus, a different city where you either walk there, you catch a bus there, or both, and crazy. But I would say that as a 21st century person, it does mean that I have a lot less biases to affect my mood that most other people wouldn't be used to. I mean, most of the things that people probably used to bitch about back in the day was, I can look at it now and be like, I don't know. I can't say that I was there in terms of I guess what would be called cultural struggles or revolutions or anything like that. But human nature is gonna always be there anyway, so I don't really have to ask myself, like, am I missing some deep-seated role or guide or something like that? It's just ridiculousness. Um, hmm. The divide between the youth and the adults has definitely shortened by a lot in the 21st century. In the earlier years, I'm pretty sure I can tell that the divide between the youth and the adults was definitely defined and enforced and rigid. But now it's a lot more flexible. It's a lot more versatile. It's not as there's not as much animosity anymore. But it's still there, man. You're gonna always have old people standing out as a sort of practitioner of propaganda to a youth, because as a youth, it's your job to not let people tell you that the world was created in 7 days and then live the world in 7 days. It is your job as a youth to figure out what happens if you try to live the world like there's an 8th day and a 9th day and a 10th, and so on and so on and so on. And I feel like because of the relaxed divide between the youth and the adults, that's a lot harder, because if you can relate to an adult on a kinder level, then you're less likely to rebel against them, which can have its repercussions as well, because that just shows that tactics in which adults have been trying to maintain over youth impressions and yada 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 have definitely changed. I mean, I guess you could say it's for the better, because if you know a person better, then it becomes that much more apparent whether they're using you or not using you. And understanding is definitely important in terms of experience. If you cannot sort through your experiences and get what you need from them, then your life will always be empty. Your life will always be flawed, in the sense that you didn't take what you were supposed to take from it and make yourself better. But there I go again criticizing people, so I should definitely watch that. I didn't mean to critique people, but just an opinion. Let's just call it opinion for now. So What else? Let's see. Uh, oh yeah, to be a 21st century citizen does mean to be technology dependent, which only becomes apparent when you become technology deprived. Every person in this world that has adapted to 21st century living will have that one electronic they must not let go, because if they do, the world will no longer make sense. I speak for myself in that one. And that's just, the fact of the matter of life. Previous generations would be looking like, oh, y'all kids is crazy. I'd be like, I don't like staring at walls. But yeah, man, technology the technology dependent has led to very stringent, very far removed social circles in which interaction can definitely be severely received because of how social circles have been affected by technology. And that's both a good and a bad thing, because most people say they want friends, but if you ask them to do something for you, they probably want to do it anyway. So it's like, so it makes sense why people will be um very particular about who they choose to flock with, because in understanding a person, the first thing you need to know is what this person won't do for you. And once you get that done, then you can decide at that point whether cost versus gain is worth it for you. And I feel like that's a point that has definitely splintered the 21st century population to points that they won't come back from because they don't need to. I feel like if two people are meant to not even talking about relationships, if two people are meant to be useful to each other, then they will work, then they will be friendly towards each other. But if they can't be useful towards each other, it won't work anyway. And that's a hard lesson to learn, because if you're talking about a world in which electronic communication is not present or apparent, then you can definitely take somebody out of their element if they are not acclimated to this type of environment. And that's just one of the hard lessons of 21st century living. The fact that people have definitely applied a consumer type relationship to their relationships. But that's yeah, this is life. In other news, let's see. To be 21st century citizen, uh, definitely does stand out to be informed. Um, if you're a 21st century citizen, you must be informed about what's going on with you and around you, because if you're not, people are definitely gonna look at you stupid. Because I mean, that was the whole point of me emphasizing social circles in the my my last tidbit. Because being informed makes the difference in the 21st century. What you don't know will definitely limit your ability to act in that particular situation on any given day. And that's just the truth of the fact of the matter. And what that means, I can't really say, because then I will have to point out specific situations and, you know, too many people to be trying to generalize everything. So that I'm gonna leave that out wide. 21st century living is also categorized by religion. Religion has very weirdly, taking a dominant large role in 21st century living. People, it's not even about superstition anymore. It's just, it has devolved into uh like a social game. And I guess that's just the times, man, because it's like I can see the mentality behind it. It's like being familiar with those in your neighborhood versus being familiar with people in the next city. You see what I mean? Like you're more tempted to talk to someone who you are day to day more likely to see than you are to somebody who you probably won't see in a month. If you're lucky. So I'm like, wow, technology proves that people don't need Jesus. And people say, fuck it, we'll still take Jesus and people. But I mean, oh, I just made a stupid statement. But I guess technology didn't prove that you don't need Jesus, but it definitely took away the available time that you got for Jesus. So you get what I mean, right? Oh man. um, but no critiques, no jokes. Um, 21st century living. This is the entrepreneur's time, definitely. This is probably the best time to decide that if you want to run a business, if you thought about running a business, this is definitely a time, because the market can't say that it doesn't need new business. Good business though, not bad business. Don't tell people you want to sell them sporks or something like that. That's retarded. um, but yeah, business is definitely booming, provided that you have proof that it can boom. um, what else? La 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 la. True. Um, music entertainment has definitely taken a rather influential role in the 21st century. Uh, Acting in particular has turned into a very rainbow diverse uh, role in society, which is probably interesting because this started out with the boring Greek plays, and now look at it. The average, if you a smart person, you dying to get that chance to be a Denzel Washington or something, because it's like, if you do it right and with all the technology available today, you can make somebody look like God. Like they said that Morgan Freeman has the voice of God, and I'm tempted to believe it. And even then, the amount of roles that's available now, we talking like you would think, okay, TV, movies. What else can you do? You can do voice acting, which can lead to other sub denominations like cartoons or anime, which is basically the same thing. But I mean, the idea though is that the creativity is endless. You can sound like anyone. You can be like anyone. You can look like anyone. You can act like anyone. And you know, I feel like I'm not doing it justice because it sounds boring. It doesn't sound like I'm talking about anything. But when you think about whatever favorite movie that you have, or some form of favorite play, or some just I don't know, even if you don't even watch people, you can read a book or something. There's some form of character role development that will put your mind in a state of imagination that you will agree that this is a if this is a influential genre. And not to say that it was bound to happen, because I'm pretty sure when people first saw light hit the screen and then images pop up, they probably lost their mind. I probably would have lost my mind too. I never heard of some shit like that before. You make a machine you make a machine act like a light bulb, and then images pop out. I say, huh? And then later on, you put sound with that, and then depending on how good the cameras have gotten at that time, we talking about, you know, crazy stuff like futuristic stuff, aliens, monsters, or like just crazy stuff like. And it's funny because I started out talking about music and I ended up talking about acting and stuff. But I mean, music too has definitely branched out in terms of personality, in terms of there are a lot of people to identify with in terms of who you can relate to, and that makes the difference too. Because in this social circle, technology-driven world, it's hard at times to focus on the individual you versus the people group you, the you that goes out with friends, or the you that engages family, or the you that even has kids. So what the 21st century citizen has been exposed to is multiple venues of personal relation in the form of entertainment, which has definitely added color to the society, to our society, because I don't think I would be very happy in a society in which the best thing to do was go to work and come home and be happy I got a job to go to. And that was it. Like there was nothing at home to do but just be happy I have a home to come to, and that's it. I don't see how people got through that, to be honest with you, because that's not. I can't say that's not a way to live, because it is a way to live. They did live, and I don't know. that's just the 21st century's perspective right there, though. I feel like all 21st century minded people are biased by technology. Like, there is no world without technology, and that's just what it means to be 21st century. Because as you can see, I'm not exactly talking to you in person, and yet you're getting information. You're getting um qualities of a person that wouldn't exist if you didn't know they didn't exist. Mm-mm. So that speaks for itself. But you know, I'm not praising technology. I'm just saying, end of the world. I'm taking my technology with me. That's it. Oh man. But you know, being a 21st century citizen is kind of dorky though, because you can't really say um you're cool in that you are different. And before you lose your cap and stuff, let me explain. Before, in a world with no technology, a person could put up a pretty good argument that they are living their own life, because that's what all they had, just them and their thoughts. So you can understand how people could come up with different perspectives on life when they have so much time to think about it and to revolve it and to uh, basically create their own lane in life. So that's what made them cool, because their thoughts were not influenced by technology or uh, supported by technology. They didn't have information that bombards them day to day, night after night, in terms of what they can access. So the in a way, they were their own movie character, because there was no means to capture the story anyway. So there were probably a lot of unspoken heroes in the world, and that the world will never know about. And that's just the consequence of not having technology around. Nowadays, though, everybody trying to look special, more like it's kind of sad, really, like that whole identity thing is a teenager thing, and yet people attempted to do what they can to stand out and to feel like they are special. Not to say you're not special, just keep it to yourself. So yeah, 21st century people are nerds. It's there. Just accept it. Don't fight it. Don't just leave it. So as a 21st century person, I guess another thing is responsibility. A 21st century person doesn't really have any obligations or responsibility to society, because, to be honest with you, society has already done everything you would need it to do for you. I mean, at the basic, at the very basics, I don't see how the starving child theme is even relevant anymore, because in this world where people have too much of everything, you can't really say that the world was stacked against me, unless you was born in a non-modern country, which still exists. But it's not that. I'm pretty sure it's still not that. And if you talk about extreme circumstances, it's not that common at all, because most countries, even lesser countries, in terms of how technology driven they are still next to technology driven countries. So there is no I was born with with a ball chain in the river. You can't say that, because you still have 2 feet that can carry you from the west hemisphere to the eastern hemisphere and back, provided that you make that effort to make that journey. So that's that. Um, but in terms of a debt that is owed to society, not at all. 21st century people owe no debt to society, because society has taken it upon themselves to essentially do everything. And I feel like that pampered, yeah, 21st century people are pampered. And that's definitely a thing, not a thing, a truth of being a 21st century person. You can't really say that you know the world never did shit for you, because even if that was true, look at the world. Even if you didn't have, even if you're not in a position to participate, you can still see how good really gets. And if good can get that good, then the world isn't as dark and as bad as a place as you want it to be. And that's just the truth of the fact of the matter. But I don't know. Being a pampered, being being a pampered 21st century citizen, what does that really mean? That means that that does mean that future generations will not be hearing that speech anymore about life being harder than you'll ever know, and you don't if you was my age, you wouldn't be as comfortable as you are, and yada 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 yada, all these hardship things that ain't got shit to do with a person that was born after the hardship. So, you know, uh I guess that makes sense, right? But in terms of nature, 21st century people are definitely removed from nature, because it's too tempting to live in a city. And even if you don't live in the city, you're still going to be tempted to live next to the city, as close to the city as humanly possible, because um I don't think most people will want to live on a farmland. Not to spit on people that do, no critiques. Um, it's just that city life has become so convenient that the idea that the life of toil that people have missed out on is more attractive, is more of poetic uh a poetic feeling, a poetic point, moot point, rather than something that is apparent to life. And the reason is, if a life of toil is really meant to be all a human being is known for, is familiar for, then that contradicts the whole development of technology, which involved toil, because people lived and died chasing imaginary things, essentially. And why I say they were imaginary, because if they don't exist, if they haven't been manufactured, if they haven't been created, then we might as well be talking about unicorns and dragons here. I mean, what you want me to say? If it don't exist, then prove it. If it do exist, then prove it. Both sides. But being a 21st century person is definitely it definitely leaves a lot to be said and a lot to be spoken for in terms of how you choose to live it. 21st century life is definitely a two-lane life. And in those two lanes, you have the fast lane and you have the slow lane. The fast lane people tend to keep themselves busy, tend to, make sure that they are chasing some sort of goal, so that by the time they reach those goals, they don't have to worry about anything anymore. They just enjoy the fruits of their labors. The slow lane people, on the other hand, are more like myself. I'm a slow lane person. More focused on admiring what's going on around them, and not really worried about having too high expectations for anything, to be honest with you, because the idea is that in a contest of speed, somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win. Kudos to the person that wins. Whoever loses, though, what you gonna do? Are you going to jump back in the race and use your knowledge? Are you going to quit? Are you going to become a slow lane? Like you get it? The idea is that I'm not really helping myself by throwing myself in a lane I wasn't really prepared for, because a fast lane person, like we talking about elementary school, like these guys, they've already known since they was little babies that they was gonna do this and that, and they already made their peace with it. They're not even worried about that stuff. So I can't really get mad at them or critique them, because I want them to do that. I want them to not be around to, just cloud up my environment that I'm trying to enjoy it, because the idea is that most people fail because in the 21st century life, failure is attached to staying on off track. Not off track. Failure is attached to not noticing your lane. There we go. And the reason why most people fail is because they really be slow lane people, but they think they fast lane people. They jump in the fast lane and they feel like they keeping up, and then next thing you know, boom, that guy you were just competing with just jumped way, way ahead. And to put that into perspective, I was online a couple of days ago, And these cats, these 3 cats, ended up landing jobs with Google, and I said, wow, uh, uh, because they didn't interview for it. They got they essentially got recruited. I know it sounds crazy. We talking about academics, but it sounds more like sports. But they got recruited off the internet, mind you, and that just goes to show how a fast lane person can just go from fast to just light speed. Because we talking about an opportunity here where, somebody told you you could work for Google. Come on. You'll be like, okay. Like I don't feel like I feel like most people wouldn't even like rationalize, is this a good decision? Of course it's a good decision. You don't, how many Google buildings are you seeing? Your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? How many mile radiuses do we have to go here before you realize that you're going into a high place right now? So I feel like that's a nice way to wrap things up. The idea that the 21st century person is ultimately a lane driver, and understanding your lane as early as possible is very important, because you will cause yourself a lot of grief, a lot of hurt, a lot of problems jumping in a lane that you aren't equipped for. And that's just the truth of the fact of the matter. But that's it for today. Thank you all for listening. Shout out to my supporters. We still don't have any. I'm working on it. Don't worry about it. I got you. When our supporters get here, I'm going to go to the Empire State Building and I'm going to say yay. Because I want to have people who support and will lead to more people and all that good stuff. So thank you for listening and have a good bye.